And here we go. Um, Welcome to Jaws Christ Talk. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Christ Talk on July 10th, 2023. Today we have Rhonda Brown here with us. Rhonda is a Christian poet, but she is a great follower of Jesus Christ, and she has many ideas and thoughts, not just on poetry, but other Christian walks. Before we get started, I want to give special thanks to Wingate TV, Transform U Media, Zach with Pack Channel, and Jay Stoyhan with Disability Channel for hosting our shows. Please be sure to share and subscribe to our page, especially on YouTube, um, or wherever else you found us. Now let's get to the show. Rhonda and she's been with me as a guest on a number of occasions. And today we're going to be talking about Christian finances and different ideas and thoughts that she's had on this. I will be jumping in from time to time and talking about different things because this is a big deal for me also. And I think it is for most Christians. How do we how do we give? How do we the blessings that God has given us? How do we return those blessings to other people? So those are different things we're going to talk about. Um, Hello, Rhonda. How are you today?
I am doing fine, thanks.
Um, we're going to start first by you just giving a little bit of your background. We always try the first episode, we went through her background um, really hard, but now we're just going to do a glossing. Um, and can you tell me how long you've been married and your relationship with your husband, Bill, and how you guys follow Jesus Christ and where you guys worship? Something just kind of an overview. Would you do that for me, Rhonda?
Sure. We just marked our 50th wedding anniversary.
Woohoo!
Half a century. So
Yeah.
that was a big milestone. Um, we've we are worshiping now at a small Nazarene church in Mesa, Arizona. It's called Journey of Grace Nazarene Church, and we are loving it. Our pastor is very committed to prayer in the Sunday morning service. When he's fairly new, he hasn't been there even a year yet. In his first sermon, he said, I want to get to the point where we are praying on Sunday morning at least as much as I preach. And
Wow.
he's really working toward that. We spend significant time each Sunday in prayer, and he sometimes will call someone up from the church congregation and have them talk a little bit about something that's been going on in their lives, and then he will pray over them.
Okay.
Sometimes it's about a ministry they're involved in. Sometimes he has someone to come and talk about a ministry of the church that he wants us to be aware of. We love the emphasis on prayer.
Okay.
And that's been important. We were talking today about financial stuff. And I guess that's one of the reasons that was particularly on my mind the last few weeks. I am part of the prayer support group for an organization that exists for the purpose of helping Christian leaders and workers all over the world equip Christians to be good stewards. They're about helping us as Christians learn to release our resources into God's hands for his purposes. And the leader of that group, and I haven't asked his permission to share a lot about the organization, so I'm going to be kind of general here. But the leader of this group right now is visiting. I'm not sure whether he actually spent some time in Ukraine. I think he did. In fact, he posted that at the end of their train ride, they got to one of the cities and were promptly greeted with sirens telling everybody to take shelter.
Wow.
And he's been in Moldova, which is a bordering country to Ukraine, visiting with some Christian leaders in Moldova. But as I said, this organization is committed to helping equip Christians to be good financial stewards. I don't have permission to put their link up today. I am going to put up after a while, or I think maybe you have it up now, John, the link to Crown Financial Ministries, which is a ministry that Bill and I have worked with and like very much. And their commitment is to help us be good stewards in every area of our lives, not just money, but to come to terms with God's ownership of all that we have and all that we are. And that's been a rich experience to work with them. Our financial journey as a couple, I guess, began when Bill first became a Christian. We both became Christians in college. And he had the privilege of getting some good teaching early on about stewardship. And he developed an early habit of tithing. And it was fun. We didn't talk about finances much before we got married. We would have been smarter to talk more about it, I'm sure. But we came home from our honeymoon, and on the first Sunday, as we were getting ready to go to church, Bill said, "Now we're going to tithe." I had never tithed in my life. I didn't get teaching as a new Christian, and I had not tithed. But I was committed enough to allowing my husband to be the leader in our marriage that I said, "Oh, okay, we're going to tithe." So from the very beginning, we were committed to tithing to our local church. And we branched out as we became aware of other parachurch ministries that needed financial support. We would add them into the mix, always giving to them beyond the 10% that we were giving to our local church. We regarded that as the baseline. It's not that Christians are under a command to tithe, but I think tithing is a really good beginning point for our giving, and that's how we used it. So we branched out. We gave to other groups. We gave money to World Vision. I remember when I was a young mom, 4 or 5 years into it would have been 6 or 7 years into our marriage, I guess then. I was at home with preschoolers, and a gentleman showed up at our front door from World Vision. And he was just dropping in on people who were World Vision donors in our area. He was traveling in our area. And he expressed considerable surprise at how young I was. he said, you folks have been giving to us for quite a few years. He was expecting someone older. So
Okay.
got a giggle
Who
on
is
it.
it? Rhonda, what is World Vision and what do they do?
They are a helping organization committed to providing food, medical assistance, general help in poor countries. And they often, when there is a disaster somewhere, World
Okay.
Vision has people on the scene very quickly to help with, again, with medical needs, food, um, practical needs like blankets, whatever, to help people when they've just, life has been turned upside down, and World Vision will
Right,
be there.
right.
But
Um, it reminds me of Billy Graham's son.
yeah,
Um, I forget his name, but he has I think an organization very similar to that also.
yes, he does. Samaritan's Purse.
Okay, that's what that was.
Mhm.
So yeah, we there's a big need for organizations like this, especially when things go haywire, either in a natural disaster or war-torn countries and stuff like that. So okay, keep going, Rhonda. Um, what you were talking about there?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I had to think about where I was. Um, as I said, we established that pattern of giving early in our marriage. Um, and as I said, that was new to me. So it's been a learning curve. And I think that we have learned to, well, we've recognized from early on God's ownership of all that we have, all that we are. Um, so the ability to work and earn money, we come back to thank God for that. We credit Him for that. Um, the blessings of our lives, we respond to Him with thanksgiving, and we've with Bill's leadership, we've made the commitment to try to be good stewards of whatever we have in our hands. I don't. We've frequently done an imperfect job of that, or I have especially. I guess I look at my stewardship of my home and think the Lord could find fault with me for that. Um, I think that home maintenance for me has been a challenge and consequently has impinged on practicing hospitality. And practicing hospitality is part of our stewardship too.
Right, right. And what we're
So,
doing right here, this is stewardship too, talking about these different aspects and stewardship of our time is
mm-hmm,
also not just financial, but time is a big deal. And I'm very glad that I could spend the time being a host on the podcast and also uh, sharing with you, Rhonda. Um, Rhonda actually belongs to an organization that I belong to too. It's RTB, Reasons to Believe, and we both belong to the local Phoenix chapter. And we talk about science, what's going on in the world of science, and can you science and religion, are they compatible? And we talk about different things in the science world in our group. So that's how I got to know Rhonda. Rhonda is a poet, and she's written poetry. We'll get that link up on here soon. So you can see it and see her book. And she devotes her poetry to God and Jesus Christ and how she views a Christian worldview. So yeah, this is, she called me the other day and said, I have a couple of ideas to talk about. And this was one of them on being a good steward and of our finances. I think this is a subject that needs to be talked about more often. Um, I get stuck in this, and I think most Christians have a hard time. We have a hard time releasing and letting go of finances in the rest of the world. You know, it just seems like there's a lot of people that are or organizations that are crying out for help, especially in this day and age. So I'm very glad that Rhonda came up with this idea of talking about this. And I said, yeah, let's go with this one, and next month we can go with the other idea. So, what kind of do on World Vision do they give you a list of where you would like your money to go, countries or ideas, or do you just give them the money and trust them that they will use it the best way possible?
Both. They, I think we always just gave to their general fund. I'm sorry to say, World Vision isn't in our regular rotation these days. I'm not sure when it fell out, but we are giving to other organizations at this point. But they offer opportunities to sponsor specific children and encourage you to correspond with that child, establish a relationship. So that's one of the opportunities. When there's an emergency, they will ask for special designated giving in response to that. So you can say, I want my money to go to help in Ukraine right now, or I think some of the really bad tsunamis that have hit in the last 10 years or so, we could say, I want to help with the tsunami relief in such and such a country. Typically, we've always just given to the general fund, and we trust them to make good decisions about where they're using the money. And
I see.
they have a good reputation. We've not been uncomfortable trusting them in that way.
Very good. Very good. One of the things that I do, I'm a website designer, and I actually designed Rhonda's website, but I have given my expertise on building websites for a couple of nonprofits, and I'm going to post the link up here. I actually, and this was my way of giving. My wife and I are both retired, and we don't have a lot of finances, but I have the time to design websites for nonprofits. And one of the organizations that I do is in Africa, and it's called Happy Gardens Community School. And I'm going to put that link right here. Give me one moment here. Okay, if you can see it right there, that's her website, and it's in Nigeria, and her name is Lydia, and she runs the school. It's almost like a orphanage, and they have like 80 kids in it, and they feed them and they give them shelter if they need it, and a whole bunch of really cool things. One of the things that was a problem when I was trying to set up with her is Lydia did not have a computer, so everything that our communication and everything that we had to use had to come from her cell phone. and it came into my computer. So she would take a lot of photographs and send them to me off of her cell phone, and then she would write out different things and send it to me on her cell phone. So the whole website was communication off of a cell phone, and we were kind of laughing because how technologically the world has changed in the last few years, and people that could not make a connection to the rest of the world because they couldn't afford a computer, they can do it with this little device called the cell phone. And you can take photographs and send text messages, and it was just a real miracle. So I built a website doing that. I just want to point to her too. She has a place in there where you can make donations. They can always use the money there in a very, very poor part of Africa. And so I connect with these people on a regular basis. It's not just Lydia, but a couple other ones. And there's another lady by the name of Zita. She's a Catholic nun that just got her doctorate in nursing, and she is promoting and pushing for um, women in another country in Africa for infant mortality. And that's a very interesting. And I have her on here talking from time to time too. So I think this is a good place to go to talk about. Go to the website there. Rhonda has a website for her poetry too, but she's always writing blogs about different things and how to connect with the rest of the world. So that's where that's at. I try to write blogs about that and interview different people on those kind of things. So um, our family, and I'm talking about the larger Christian family, um, when what's interesting is when we make friends with a Christian in another part of the world, it's very easy to connect because we share the same worldview, the same ideas, and you can anywhere else you could go, you just have a friend in that place if they're a Christian. And I know that it's not just in your local church, but in other places in the world when you're trying to make connections and stuff like that. We need to do that. Have you found that to be typical too? Do you feel at home in a lot of Christian churches because simply from the fact that you both worship Jesus Christ?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's they're our brethren, and they need our help. Many of these people need our help. So um, when I was putting the website together for Lydia, I just she would send me all these photographs and all these precious children, and there's a gallery on there too. You can look at it. And I was just thinking, and they had some pictures of them worshiping God at a service, and I was just like, wow. Other than the skin color and maybe the clothes, different clothes, and some of the living culture, they were just like us, you know. And I think about how much God loves the diversity and how He loves all these different people in different places. What are some of the places that you like to give money and have it go to? What is on your heart, Rhonda?
Well, let's see, one of the things that we do, we support individual missionaries. Um,
Okay.
frequently, churches support missionaries. The missionaries come to them and ask for the church's support, and they get that. Um, then often what has happened is that missionary may come to our church and report on what they are doing, and we have signed up to actually send some direct support to that missionary, which is beyond what the church is giving. So we give to some individual missionaries. There's a lovely couple serving in Mali, Africa right now who are working on a Bible translation for the tribal language. And
Okay.
the wife has a scripture memory ministry. And these are mostly Muslim children.
Wow.
Their,
Wow.
their parents are allowing them to come to her. She has a program where they're trying very hard to teach the children what these verses mean. So they're not just memorizing a bunch of stuff that they don't understand, but they get rewards for memorizing verses. She bakes dozens and dozens of cookies in a little solar oven, and those go to the children as rewards for their memorization. And they have a substantial number of children who show up each week. I don't remember what they said in their last letter. So we support individual missionaries. We support parachurch organizations. We support Reasons to Believe. That's a ministry that we want very much to prosper. And so that's one of the places where we put our money. We have occasionally evaluated and said, we're sending money to people who are already rich. We need to make sure that some of our money goes to groups that are dealing with poorer people. And I'm not sure which group on our list right now is one of those. I leave most of this to Bill. Financial stuff bores me to death. And so
Right.
we talk about what we want to do, but then I leave the actual doing to him. So
I see.
that's
Okay.
anyway. Did that answer your question?
Right. I think
Oh,
we supported someone in Papua New Guinea a few years back, and he was translating the Bible into their language. And he would explain to me how complicated that was because translating it into a language like that didn't have a whole lot of other writings. So he was there with his whole family and his wife for a couple of years. And they finally, I think last year, finally finished the translation. But he would tell me how it was just very interesting because I was asking him about different, like the New King James, the King James, New American Standard, all those kinds of things. So I was kind of relating how to interpret the Bible into this specific language. And he said it was very complicated. You know, they had to go word by word and they had to try to get that because they're in Papua New Guinea. There's a lot of English words they don't have anything for. So how do you explain that? You know, so how do you put that into a translation? Anyways, I just thought it was very commendable, and I had no idea it was that complicated. So those are kind of ministries that really need to be supported also, you know. Um, Not just for countries and what I do with Happy Gardens Community School, they can use direct funding and stuff like that. So it's all over the board, you know, and they're out there. If you want to make contact and have a connection, I would suggest that you connect with a missionary or a missionary person directly, and then trying to get a hold of something like World Visions. Um, right there on below your name, you have crown.org. What is Crown? Who are they and what do they do?
well, it's an organization that we worked with for several years, volunteering. My husband, primarily my husband, I was the tag along, but we would meet with individuals who were struggling with with their finances, and sit down with them and listen to them, tell us what they were doing and what they saw as their needs, and try to help them to get control of finances, make a budget, figure out whether they were overspending in this or that area. So they really evaluated what they were doing. We haven't been able to volunteer with them since I became ill. Well, golly, that was 16 years ago now. And I wasn't able to visit with Bill anymore. And so he didn't have a partner. And since so many of the people that he was working with were women, he needed a partner. And once he didn't be available for that, we had to give up that ministry. You have the Crown link. I don't see it. Well, it may be there, but it's so little I can't read it. But I went on their website the last couple of days, and they offer multiple resources to help you learn to handle money, learn to steward in other areas as well. So their emphasis is, I guess, what you would call a holistic kind of stewardship. It's not just stewardship of money. And it's operating here in the States. I think they're operating in some other countries too, but I'm not sure which ones. You will find that on their website if you go looking for it. But there are resources available that can be really helpful if that's an area that someone is struggling with, or an area where they're maybe not struggling. They just want to be more knowledgeable, more responsible. And Crown offers a lot of resources in that area.
Okay. I think my wife and I went through a Crown ministry a bunch of years ago, probably 20 years ago. And it was a weekly program that we went through step by step and talking about. Is this similar to like what Dave Ramsey does, or are they really different?
I'm not equipped to answer that question very clearly. We listen to Dave Ramsey on the news, on the radio. I think Ramsey is so very focused on getting out of debt.
Okay.
Crown is not so much focused on get out of debt as be a good steward. I don't think that Ramsey places as much emphasis on giving as Crown does. We aren't his goal seems to be frequently how to get to be a millionaire, and we don't care.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a different kind of ministry, but I trust that God is using each of those ministries in his own fashion in the lives of different people. Since maybe this is a good place to toss in, one of the things that Bill and I urged people to do when we had Crown classes here in our home, because we did some of the individual counseling, we also had some Crown classes in our home. And Bill did something years ago that we've urged younger couples to do, because there's not much said about it in the church. But Bill urges them to set a lifetime giving goal. And the the method for doing that he advises is figure out what you're in your particular career, what is a reasonable expectation of what you will earn in your lifetime, and begin with a 10% baseline. Start with 10% of what you earn right now. The Lord doesn't expect us to give what we don't have, but chances are your earning capability is going to increase as you gain work experience, as you perhaps move up in a
Right.
company. And so that current giving can rise, and but you can, if you are working toward a lifetime goal, it's a motivator. The way that it came about for Bill, that it was set, the Lord set it for him. It's really kind of a funny story. As I think I said, we both became Christians when we were in college. And he was at that time studying electrical engineering. It was computer science, but they didn't have the computer science name yet then. But he was studying in the engineering area, and he became a Christian. And one of the first things that he began to do, which I think is fairly typical of new Christians in college, is he began to think about, well, does God want me to do something different than what I've been doing? I'm this new person in Christ, and am I supposed to take a new direction? And he was kind of looking around, and he was seeing what a wonderful influence youth pastors had. And he said, I know, I'll be a youth minister. I'll be a youth minister. And it's, if you know Bill, this is funnier, but he has an odd sense of humor. But
Yeah, he does.
the interchange between him and God was amusing. I don't think he heard an audible voice, but it was clear to him that the Lord was speaking to him. And when he said, I'll be a youth minister, and the Lord said, as Bill tells it, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And he said, I've given you the opportunity for one of the best technological educations available. You are going to have excellent earning capability, and I want you to support the work that other Christians are doing. And Bill responded rather petulantly, not liking probably being told he had a dumb idea. He said, you might as well ask me to give this much. And he threw out a number, and I won't give the number.
Okay.
Suffice it was, one person we knew credited us with committing to $1 million. It wasn't $1 million, but it was in the many thousands. And Bill said, you might as well be asking me to give this much money. And he threw out this figure that seemed to him absolutely beyond the pale. When he was a college student, not rolling in dough, so to speak. And instead of the Lord patting him on the head and saying, now, I wouldn't expect that much from you, he just said, yes. So at that point, that wasn't the time. It didn't become a lifetime goal at that point. But the number stuck in his head. And once he graduated from college and found a job and began to work, he realized, wow, I really do have a good earning capability. And he said, okay, that's my goal. In my lifetime, I want to give at least this much.
Right, right.
He didn't tell me about that goal. And it wasn't at the top of his mind when we first got married. I'm not sure it was even something he recognized yet then as a lifetime goal. First I heard of it was some years back. He came up the stairs after doing a bunch of our family bookkeeping down in his office. And he said, I think we're going to meet our goal. And I said, what goal? A lifetime giving goal. Oh, I didn't know we had a lifetime giving goal. Well, that was the first time he told me about this particular interchange.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we've in the crown classes that we led, and anytime we get the opportunity now, we really encourage young people to set a lifetime giving goal.
Wow.
And then do your best to exceed it.
You know, I never thought of that. Uh, I never thought of a lifetime giving goal. It's a,
Well,
that's new. That's new to me.
yeah, it's new to many people. And it's not that God has given some direction to set a lifetime giving goal. He hasn't. This is us. But it's been good for us. And I guess Bill gets frustrated. We are very conscious of the fact that Jesus says, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing in giving alms. And if we throw out a specific number, someone else may say, well, I can't do that. So they'll be discouraged. That if you're going to do a lifetime goal, you have got to be asking God, what do you want? So don't ever set a lifetime goal without really praying about it.
Right, right. Really got to seek God in that. That's interesting. So how do you ask God about that? How do you go about in the beginning? How do you listen too? Not only ask, but how do you listen for that lifetime goal or lifetime giving?
Well, since I never went through the process myself, I don't know whether I can really answer that question. I think it's important that we have a habit of prayer so that we are in the habit of asking God about a lot of different things, including our finances. When we are thinking about giving to a different area, I think we pray about that and ask the Lord, is this a good place to put our money? And trust him that if there is a good reason not to, he's going to let us know it. That might be in finding information about an organization that you realize, oh, that's not what I want to do. One thing, when you're thinking about where to give, the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, and that there's a web link to that too, but I didn't think to put it out there. They evaluate Christian ministries and will let you know if that's a ministry that has been responsibly handling what's given to them.
Oh, wow.
So
What's the name of it? What's the name of it again?
Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability, ECFA. And I think I've got the letters in the right order there. It's ECFA. Sometimes I think, oh, it's EFCA, but I don't think it. I think it's EFCA. So you get information.
Accountability is a big deal because there are a lot of Christian ministries, especially on the wealth and prosperity end of it, that are not transparent, and they don't answer to anybody, and it's very obvious that it is for their own gain. So this organization right here, I would think, serves a big purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The
group that I'm part of, Prayer Support for, is trying to do the same thing on a global scope. They're helping organizations in South America, in Africa, in Europe, so that Christian organizations in all those different places are developing standards and systems of accountability. And that's what they are doing.
Yeah, accountability comes in many forms. And I know that in ministry, Chuck Swindoll is somebody I followed years ago, and he would talk about being transparent and being accountable for people in your own church, and having people that are not always yes people, but people you can go to and will tell you honestly tell you what they think, what's happening, especially in the areas of financial. But it's a big deal also in your ministry about what you're preaching about also. So accountability and being transparent is a big deal, especially in this day and age. And you see all these ministries out there just doing their own thing. And there's so many of them now that it's hard to really figure out who you can check out or be at. So this is a good organization. You can actually go there and find out somebody in an organization that you're following. Are they on the up and up? Are there questions about what's going on? Um, you know, I know that the Christian church, some of the Baptists, larger organizations are having problems with being accountable for sexual things that are going on within their churches. It seems this is an ugly monster that's raising its head again. When you have ministries that are not accountable, they quite frequently go off the rails and they really abuse people. So this accountability is keeping them from abusing people. And our churches, our local churches, should be a part of this also. What do you think about that? This sexual, and I know this is kind of going off from what we were talking about with financial, but I just, it seems like the Christian church went through a lot of this years ago, but all of a sudden it's going through it again. And it just gives me an ache in my heart that we have to, from time to time, have to deal with these things over and over again.
Yeah.
So,
I think that one of the as we commit to different organizations, I think one of the things that we should hold ourselves accountable for doing, and I'm not as faithful about this as I ought to be, so I say it from an awareness that my own obedience in this area is imperfect. But we should commit to praying for the leaders of an organization that the Lord would guard their hearts, guard them from temptation. One of the things that I pray is that no shadow of scandal will ever fall over this or that organization that we are involved in one way or another. Lord, guard their hearts and protect them from any shadow of scandal ever falling over that ministry. And I think that's a legitimate request.
Yes.
It's on target.
Also, we war not against flesh and blood, and the enemy would seek to destroy us every way he can. So if it's a good ministry and things are and they're being transparent, it's so easy to go off the rails because he will entice organizations and people to destroy them. And he does a good job. He's
he does.
But so that is the other part that we got to remember is that if you are successful or you have a future in some of this, that the enemy will come after you. He does not want to see you become a success. He does not want God to be a success in an area. And that's why so many fail and flounder, because they're not really putting on the full armor of God when it comes to dealing with accountability. So I know that when Monica and I have wanted to hook up and link to do what we thought was a good Christian thing, it was just like we got attacked really hard. And I'm sure you guys have at various points in time too. And it's like, oh my God, is this even worth it? But we have to realize who we're dealing with, actually,
Bill always says that if we are becoming effective for God, we are going to be high value targets for Satan.
Yep.
And he will
totally agree with that.
High value targets. And I think for us, Bill has felt that when we were poised to make a move for more stewardship, greater giving, that frequently, just about the time we'd said we're going to give more, something fell apart financially that made us look at it and say, oh, can we really do this?
Yeah.
And we would have to say, we were certain that was what God was leading us to do. We are going to do it. We're going to trust God that he's going to work that out. But Bill,
isn't that interesting? Rhonda, I'm going to pivot here. We only have about 6-7 minutes left. I changed the bottom below your name. I put Rhonda's website. She is considered the poet monk, okay? And she posts up things, and you can go and buy her book, I Weave a Song of Praise. And you can, it says it's a collection of poems by Rhonda. And you can actually hit the link and you can go and purchase the book. I tell you what, it's wonderful. There's a lot of great poems in there. And if you like poem and writing in any way, shape, or form, she's a great writer also, and she does blogs from time to time on various things. So that's right below her name, under Rhonda Brown there, the Poet Monk. And I also have a link to, I write articles for an apologetic, Christian apologetic. My grandson writes them, and there's another individual. So we write about different things in the apologetic world. I wrote an article sometime back that was called What Makes an Atheist? So I was an atheist till I was 30 years old. Silence was my God. When I connected with RTB, that really helped me to solidify my Christian walk because there were just a lot of questions I couldn't reconcile um, yeah, with scripture and all those kinds of things. I was really into evolution. Evolution was my God. And I had eventually, through RTB, read a lot of articles, and I became very aware and understood evolution a lot better than I ever did. And I realized that it was not something that was even remotely possible. And that's already coming to a lot of conclusion with a lot of scientists in the world. Darwinian evolution is not something that is possible. Anyways, tell us, since we got 5 minutes here or 4 minutes, tell us real quickly about your poetry and why you got into that. And take it away, Ron.
I guess one thing that warms my heart, various people who have purchased my book have told me that they are incorporating reading that book along with some of the other materials they use for daily devotions.
Wow.
They are using the poems as part of the way they connect with God, and that delights my heart.
Boy, I bet it does.
It's
Oh,
and many of the poems in the book are prayers. And I didn't think to put a copy of the book within reach, which was silly because I don't memorize my own poems. A few, yes, but not many. But the title poem of the book is I Weave a Song of Praise. And it is a praise poem. It begins, I weave a song of praise to you, Creator God, who spoke the atoms into orbit, spread out the universe like a tent, gathered planets mass, set the sun alight, spun the earth in place, then shaped with molten lava, with limestone sediment and tilted strata, scattered cirrus and cumulus, gave DNA its complex shape, fashioned fur and fin, golden fur of tamarin, sleek orcas hide, then fashioned man from dust and breathed and stamped your spirit there. And it goes on. It's a poem of praise. And that's the tone of a lot of things in the book. And as I said, it warms my heart that people
yes.
are able to use it in a way that helps them connect with God in their prayer times. I love that.
Yep. I think that you never told me that before, but I can see that happening. Um, Go to Rhonda's website, poetmonk.com, and there's a link there to where you can go to order the book if you would like. Also, connect on her blog, and also you can connect to the various different podcasts we've had, so you can hear some of the other things that we've talked about. We have 1 minute left here. Rhonda, I'm going to close this off here. Thank you, everyone who is here with us. Our next episode of Jaws Christ Talk special with Rhonda will be aired in August. Rhonda usually comes in on the second, I think it's the second Monday.
Yes.
Anyways, Be sure to subscribe to our channel or page where you have found us and check out our website and find out more about this and other shows. Until next time, we wish you a productive and enjoyable week. Thank you, Rhonda, again for being on our program, and we'll see you next month.
Okay. Thank you for the invitation, John.
You're welcome, my dear.